Hello, I'm Meli for Edu for Java, and this is the tutorial number 5 of Java Web. In this tutorial, we're going to see the deployment of a web application. What is the deployment? If you remember, in the first tutorials, we copied all the files of the web application. We compiled the class inside the webinf, the HTML inside the web apps, etc. What we did is known as deployment of the web application. Basically, is to put the files of the application in the server. Normally, when you work on a G2EE project, we use a tool like the one we are seeing now, Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers. These tools have a way of doing the deployment automatically to be able to do tests on the way. This is what happened in the last tutorials when we run the application. A browser was initiated and we could run the application without doing a deployment manually. When the application is finished, we usually deploy the application in another server. A server which normally is in another machine and managed by systems people. We send them all the necessary files so that they install the application in the production service. That for security, the developers haven't got access to these servers. To do this type of deployment, there's a type of file called .war. WAR file is a zipped file, a compressed file with all the necessary files to be able to do all the deployment of the application. We put all the files which we put manually into a zip file, which has a WAR extension. Now we're going to see the automatic deployment of the application by Eclipse. In the last tutorial, we had seen that when we run the application, 3 steps occur. The first one was the deployment. All the files of the application, the .class and the HTML, were deployed so that the server could manage them. The second step, the server was initiated. And the third one, we open a browser pointing to the file we like to execute first. The first thing you think is that in the first step, in the deployments, all the files are copied to the web apps directory in Tomcat, as we were doing by hand. But really, the process in Eclipse is a bit more complicated. What Eclipse does is publish in a temporary directory of the workspace. In my case, it's this one here. I'm going to show it to you. Control C. Here we have in first JEE, we have the login HTML, the webinf, web XML. Inside classes, we have the .class. The question is, if the deployment is done in this directory, how is it that it works? The thing is that Eclipse does the same as us. It executes the start and it does it with parameters, and these parameters tells him to work with a specific directory. With this directory, which creates directly. How do I know this? If I go to Eclipse, to the execution configuration, run configurations, we can see the one of Tomcat 6. We can see in arguments, the program arguments start and the execution parameters, which are the same as the ones we have in the web page here. Now we're going to take a look at the deployment using a WAR file. We have already said that the WAR file is a compressed file which it has inside the webinf directory, lib, classes, etc. Everything that we need to deploy. We also had said that it is very useful to have a .war file, because normally the people who develop and the people who install are different, and with this it makes it easier. For the deploy of a .war, they just have to copy this file to the web app directory in Tomcat. To obtain this WAR file, Eclipse allows us to do an export. Let's see it in Eclipse. Right button on the project, export WAR file. In destination, we write where we want to keep it. You can put it wherever you want. But to save steps, I'm going to put it in C, Apache, Web Apps, to avoid doing the deployment. Finish. I go to Apache, Web Apps, and here I have it. Let's see something curious. If I copy it, copy, paste, and I'm going to write zip. This is a zip file. I open it, and I can see the login HTML, the webinf, web XML, the classes. Here we are. It is a zip, but with a WAR extension. You could do it manually, but it's easier that Eclipse does it. I'm going to delete this one. This .war could be sent by email to the system people if we didn't have a production server, or upload it to an FTP so that they can get it from there. These are the normal procedures in the companies. Okay, now we're going to Eclipse. If this server was running, we could stop it so that there weren't two servers running. And we're going to run the server as we did before. So Apache bin startup. And once it's working, we write this. We write whatever we want. And you can see it's working. Invalid logging. It is now working in the production server with the WAR we made. Okay. In the next tutorial, we're going to have a look at JSPs and with this type of editor. See you in the next tutorial. Bye.